Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 137.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and if this is your first time here, I am glad that you have chosen us and this episode to listen to because we're going to talk a little bit about history and a whole lot about the future and definitely about cash flow as we continue. As many of you know, there are multiple ways to go out there and create cash flow, and that's great. And oftentimes we need competent advisors alongside us to make those things happen. You never know what's available, and you've got to have individuals who are on the cusp of what's available because there's so many things that actually are available to all of us that no one person can master it all. And here's the whole point. Yes, you need to have a great tax plan, but you don't need to be the one who does the taxes. And that's what I'm trying to drive home here is that at the end of the day, when it comes down to you and I building our cash flow, growing our business, and preparing for the future, we need lots of competent individuals with us helping make that happen. So guess what? Today's guest is a former investment banker, and even once I didn't even know such an award existed for Personal Banker of the Year. But guess we got one here today with us to where we can learn a lot about something called a 770 account. Now, here's the cool thing. I don't know what it is either, so we're going to be asking him all kinds of great questions. Help me welcome the CEO of the Arceo Financial Group, Edgar Arceo. Edgar, are you there?
Thank you. Yes. Hello, Jay. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's a true great honor to be with you.
I'm definitely glad that you make the time, and I know we're going to learn a ton because we know nothing right now about the 770, and I know you got it wired, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, I got the question. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs, you being one, today's entrepreneurs, a lot like yesterday's superheroes. So, we have Superman and Batman, and you got Wonder Woman, and you got the Hulk, and all kinds of superheroes who are, super in their own right for many different reasons. Here's the thing. Before they were super, they were regular individuals. Something happened to them. Maybe their planet exploded or their parents died. I don't know. But they decide to take that tragedy and turn it into triumph. And most importantly, start saving other people. That's what entrepreneurs do. But here's my question. Before you were CEO and helping lots of people with their finances, who is Edgar Arceo?
Oh, gosh, that's, we can be talking here forever, but I can tell you this. I was, before I even tell you about myself, I want to tell everybody, because you probably noticed that I have an accent, so I don't want people to be wondering through the whole podcast, where's he from? And they're not paying attention to what we're saying. So right now I can just tell everybody I'm from Mexico City. And when I came to the United States, I wanted to do ministry. That was my whole passion, to do Christian ministry. So that was what I wanted to do before. But I had some weird teachings in my head that they were telling me that you have to be poor if you want to, serve Christ, that you don't need to have all these riches and, big houses or whatever, that you need to pretty much do like a vow of poverty. And that was my mindset. When I came here, I didn't have anything. I have $50 in my pocket. I didn't speak English. I mean, it was hard for me. I was trying to get into the ministry as much as I could, and you're talking about the superheroes, and it's true. There was always a point in time where they change, where their destiny change, and I guess that's when I realized that God was not here to punish me or to tell me to be poor or to just just be pay all my the curses or whatever it is, but that God was here to bless me, that God was poor so I can be rich, that God did an exchange of all the curses for all the blessings that I am allowed, and not just that, but I am an inherited. How do you say that? That
Good enough,
that
close enough. We got you.
okay, great. Yes, that I have his inheritance on me. So when I realized that, my mind changed at that point, and I was like, wait a second, I can have that. God actually want me to be prosperous. God want me to be a blessing to others, but how can I be a blessing when I don't have money? So when that happened, my mind changed, and I started praying for different things. And to be honest, when God told me to start this business as my ministry, I was kind of sad about it, because I always thought about ministry like going on mission trips or helping a church or teaching or preaching or whatever it is. And when I heard that, I was like, this doesn't match with what I had in mind. Uh, but that was a turning point when I accept God's destiny for me. Is when I start, I guess, building my business and to help others, because then God started telling me, it's just that I want you to help people succeed financially. I want to teach people how they can not just be prosperous themselves, but also pass an inheritance for future generations, not just for their children, but even their grandchildren, that most of the time we don't even think about those kind of things. So when that happened is when I realized what God wanted me to do here, and is when, from having $50 in my pocket in a country that I that I didn't even speak the language, to being the CEO of the Arceo Financial Group. But it was all change of mentality, all having the right believing, and when that happened is when everything started happening in my life.
Indeed, it does, and that is typically how it goes. We don't really know the mission that we're on until we're told, and when the mission appears, you execute and you move in that particular direction. So let's dive in a little bit, because before you started your business, you were working for other financial institutions, correct?
That is correct.
And for them, what gave you the courage, I guess, I think I know the answer, because it sounds like a very similar answer for myself, but what gave you the courage to go, you know what? I can do this better, and more importantly, I can do this in a way that I think will make a bigger difference.
Yes. Well, of course, you know the answer. When I was working there, they always try to train you in a way, for you to sell more products, more instruments, whatever it is. And many things I was like, you know what, I don't like that. I will do this instead. And I will tell them, and they will never hear me. They're like, no, you have to follow. And I will always ask why. And every time they tell me no, that because this and that, I will always have more questions. Like, I'm not going to sell this product until I know everything about it, and until I'm convinced that is the best for my clients. So they were not happy with that. So after a lot of things like that in the workplace, and after talking even with human resources, telling them I think this is an unethical practice, and many things like that, I came to a point I was like, you know what, this is not worth it. I am fighting too much. I cannot do the best for my clients anymore. So even though that I was succeeding at my work, I just made the decision to quit and start my own company, because I thought I could do much better for my clients. And so it was hard, because you have your work. It's you get your salary, you get your incentives every month. You know what's going to happen next month. When you start a new business, you don't know nothing. You have no idea what's going to happen. I just got married at that point, so it was scary. It was not in my comfort zone. But, I thought like God was telling me to do this for a purpose as my ministry. And I just followed the lead. I just followed the Holy Spirit lead. And I was like, okay, you are in control. I'm going to do it. I don't know how am I going to do it, but hey,
Right.
let's do it.
And that's kind of the point that I wanted to drive home, because as we're entrepreneurs out there going to build our business and serve our customers and you go through these levels of transition, and I don't think most people realize that those levels of transition are, part of the process. That, sometimes we want to say, okay, I'm going to just function differently. Tomorrow I'm super entrepreneur and everything is going to be perfect. Rarely does it go that smoothly. And it's usually born through frustration, because I shared a very similar frustration as you when I was a financial planner, et cetera, is I didn't like the way things were being done, and I didn't feel like I could actually do the things. I would come up with solutions and they're like, yeah, you can't do that. I'm like, why?
Yes.
Why not? Because that's the solution. So I completely understand where you're coming from. And I completely understand the decision that you felt like you had to make in order to properly serve individuals. So tell us, you said you were recently married, so that there had to be, I know for many entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their business, they've got this conversation that they typically have to have with someone important. So you got married, you got this, comfortable looking job. Hey, this is what we do. I know what my husband does. Everything is good. And then you go, hey, honey, I got an idea. I want to quit this and start something over here. That can tend to be a difficult conversation for some people. And I'm just curious, what tips or advice would you give to the individual who is facing a similar conversation for themselves?
Well, maybe it was a little simpler for me because we are followers of Christ. So we pray a lot together. We do a lot of things together as far as planning. And so when I told her about this, and I told her what I felt in my heart, like I felt peace in my heart. Somehow she felt also peace in her heart, even though that it was scary for her as well, of course. But she felt peace in her heart. So when that happens, it's just very easy to go for it. Now, if she would have told me, you know what, I don't think that's the right decision, I don't know if I would have done it or not, because of course, my wife is my best friend. If she doesn't have peace, there can be something wrong here, and I have to pray more about it. But when I talked to her and I told her about what I felt in my heart that God was telling me, man, she was 100% with me, and that helped me a lot because, as you know, the first month or even the first year is so hard when you start a business, and she was 100% with me, so that helped. I can even tell you, if I would have done this by myself before getting married, I would probably have given up in the first couple of months because it was just too hard. But since she was there supporting me all the time, man, this was easy. It was very easy.
So, and that's one of the things that I think everybody needs to know is that growing a business, no matter what kind of business, it's always harder than you think. And I've heard it said, estimate it's going to take twice as long as you think it's going to take, cost you twice as much, and it's going to feel like you're moving through molasses backwards. It is slow, and there's so much growth that's required. So I commend you for being one of those brave individuals going out there to serve your clients. So speaking of which, tell us a little bit about the Arceo Financial Group, what you guys do and bring to the table. And then I want to dive into this new type of account that I have definitely not heard of, that I want to understand what this financial tool is that we could be taking advantage of in various different ways.
Well, the Arceo Financial Group, I started this exactly because I wanted to help my clients succeed financially. It's as simple as that. So of course, I want to understand the clients, not just try to sell them something. And so I want to get to know them. I want them to tell me what are their goals, and based on a lot of factors, I want to put a plan together for them. Sometimes the plan is even going with another financial institution or somebody else, not even with me. If I don't feel like I have the instruments to help them out with the plans that they have, I tell them, you know what, I don't have all the tools that I need for you to succeed financially. I can help you maybe with a couple of things here, but let's do this together with somebody else or with another financial institution or something like that. So I wanted the Arceo Financial Group to be a ministry, a true ministry, where we can just help people no matter what. Even if we don't get any money out of it, it's okay, because that is our ministry, that's our mission, to help them no matter what.
Now, I want everybody to hear this very, very clearly. What he just said is the very reason I ended up in real estate. It was the same thing. We just made different decisions for the same reason. He said, I'm going to take it on myself and still help people in paper assets and financial world. I said, you know what? I'm just going to help people in real estate because that seemed easier, so to speak, from everything else that, because I understand the world that he has to play in and the extra work it takes to be able to have your own financial group and make those things work. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, between the rules and the regulations and all the licenses and requirements and continuing education that is required to pull that off, it's not a small feat in any way, shape, or form. And I was just like, you know what, I said, I don't want to do that. He has chosen to do that. And oh man, he's a very rare individual. And the interesting thing, and that's why I want you guys to hear this. The interesting thing is not all financial planners or individuals in his space are even willing to recommend other services, because that was my challenge, is that I wanted to tell people, hey, you got to use a combination of this and a combination of this in order to achieve your goal. But I couldn't do that. I wasn't the CEO of where I was working. I could not do that. And he has the ability to do that. And when you can find someone as a real estate investor, when you can find a financial planner who's willing to have that kind of mindset, you two can help a lot of people with your respective missions grow a lot of their wealth. So I personally commend you for being that person, because there aren't enough of you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. And you know what? That even happened when I was working at the bank. Many times they will come and I will just send them somewhere else. And I told them, just please don't tell anybody that I told you this, because they're going to fire me. But hey, this is the best way for you to go. So, and that's how I became the personal banker of the year. Everybody will trust me and everybody will refer me people over. And that's how I, was named the personal banker of the year.
That's actually kind of funny right there. But that's the truth. That's what it takes. And those are the things that I want people to hear, is that yes, your business has to sell, but you don't have to sell unethically. Yes, your business has to produce customers and profit, but by doing the right thing, you can still prosper as well as you're out there helping other individuals. So, what is it that you guys tend to specialize in terms of how do you help people? Like, what's your major area of focus?
We specialize on exactly the topic of the day, that is the 770 account, or a lot of people call it the infinite banking concept. That's how I personally call it, the infinite banking concept.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's why we specialize. We use other instruments here and there, but that is the foundation of everything we do.
Got it. So for those who might not know, explain to us the concept, and then some first, and then we'll talk about some of the instruments and tools you might use to execute that in various different ways.
Well, the 7.7, many people have seen maybe videos online, and they are probably wondering what exactly is a 770 account, and it's very easy. This account was named because of the 770-2 section of the IRS code that talks about life insurance. so it is no more than life insurance. It's kind of like the 401k section of the IRS that talks about that qualified retirement plan. Same thing, the 770-2 section that talks about life insurance. Now, however, instead of trying to get the greatest death benefit, like a lot of people wants to get the greatest death benefit for the lowest premium possible, we do the opposite. you need to purchase the lowest death benefit required by law, and we can talk more about that, and pay the highest premium that you can afford. And that will enable you to invest the greatest amount of excess cash in the policy beyond the true cost of insurance. So in other words, we're reversing the approach taken by most purchases of life insurance in order to use your life insurance policy primarily as a living benefit rather than a death benefit. That benefit is just a bonus, but we want to use it as cash accumulation.
Got it. Now, I know as soon as you said the words life insurance, there was a number of people who went, oh. And if they're still listening right now, I commend them, because I remember in my days when I was working with life insurance, I knew the quickest way to clear a room and to make people be quiet is to let them know that I sold life insurance. They're like, they're just scattered. They're gone. So I want you to tell us from your perspective, what are the most typical situations in which this type of structure has been beneficial for your clients? Who is that person? Because I'm guessing that there's a number of them listening right now.
Well, what we're trying to do here is come up with a steady, conservative approach that will guarantee them a certain rate of return with no risk and tax-free, which a lot of people are looking for something like that. So we are not promising huge amounts of rate of return like 10, 20, 30%. That's not going to happen here. But if you are looking for something that is secure, there's no risk, it is tax-free, and it has some other benefits that we can talk about it. But one of my favorites is that you can use it as your own bank, and I can explain how that you can use it as your own bank. And also, one thing is that this is not something that you're going to get rich quick in a couple of years. I mean, this is a long-term commitment, a long-term strategy. And that's why it works really well for like retirement plans and things like that. We're not talking that you're going to be rich in a couple of years. If that's what you are trying to do, then this is not the account for you. And I mean, we can look at other options maybe and come up with the best thing for you. But we're talking about 7, 10 or more years, and then this strategy will be for you. It will give you a very competitive rate of return, and probably even better than a mutual fund, and we can talk about that later as well. But it will give you a guaranteed, at least, rate of return that is hard to find these days, at least.
Sure. Well, and here's a couple of things that I know. If I know the people listening right now, there are a couple of words that you said that you're going to have to explain, because while I may have an understanding of what you're saying, I want to make sure that they hear what it is that you're talking about. When you say no risk, explain that a little bit more clearly as to exactly what you mean.
Are you tired of letting good cash flow generating ideas go to waste? Go to cashflowdiary.com/ready to apply for a complimentary, yes, that means free, one-on-one breakthrough session. Take action now. Go to cashflowdiary.com/ready. Again, that's cashflowdiary.com/ready. Before we get back to today's episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, your host, Jay Massey, has some important insights to share with you.
All right. So I wanted to make sure that everybody is on the same page. I mean, you've been coming here for a while. You've been listening. You've been hoping. And now we're going to be doing some teaching and instructing for you. So I'm going to tell you how to get access to some information absolutely free. Many of you know that we've been doing apartment buildings and commercial real estate, as well as raising private capital. And we get questions from you guys from time to time. So one of the things that I wanted to do is to let you guys in on a way for me to give you guys some more information, some very direct, here's what you need to do, steps 1, 2, and 3 on how to get deals done, literally using none of your own money or credit, and with all kinds of unique ways and strategies. We've started what we call our Cashflow Core membership, Cashflow Core membership. So what does that mean? That means right now you get to, because you listen here, go over to cashflowdiary.com/reviews. That's cashflowdiary.com/reviews. That's with an S, REVIEWS. When you go there, if you leave us a review for the podcast, I'm going to let you test out the membership for 30 days. My guess is you're going to love it and hopefully you'll stay. But even if you don't, it's all good. I know that you will have learned a few things in the meantime. Again, leave us a review on iTunes. Then go over to cashflowdiary.com/reviews. And what you're going to see inside is some information on how to raise some private capital, how to get some apartment buildings done. You'll be able to talk to me on a Facebook group, as well as participate in some of our live trainings that we've got going on. Again, complimentary for 30 days. My gift for you. Let's get back to it.
Well, they guarantee. This is a contract that you are doing with a life insurance company, and they have guarantees. There are a lot of types of life insurance policies, and I'm not talking about the ones that have no guarantees or very poor guarantees. I'm talking about the ones that they are giving you a very good guaranteed. They guaranteed, for example, to give you about 3% on your cash value every year, no matter what. And on top of that, if they have dividends, well, that's awesome. So these companies have been in business for about 120. Some of them, they have been in business for more than 160 years, and they have been paying every single claim, and they have been giving these guarantees plus dividends every single year, even through the Great Depression, even through the World War I and II, even through the stock market crashes. It didn't matter. They kept their promises. They were giving their guarantees. They were giving dividends on top of that. They were paying all their claims. And I don't think there's any other institution out there that can claim the same thing. So that's what I'm saying about guarantees. And there's no risk, because of what they have done in the past.
Got it. Totally understood. Now, when it comes to life insurance, I know some people thinking, I'm like 25. Why would I want to care about something like this today? I'm sure you have some information for us that you'd love to share.
Of course. When I started my own policy, it was about 10, 11 years ago. I didn't have family. I was, in my 20s. So I didn't care about the death benefit either, but I understood the concept. I read a book that is The Infinite Banking Concept, Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And when I understood the concept, I was like, this is a no-brainer. I need to do this. Who cares about the death benefit? I want the cash accumulation that this policy can give me, and I want to become my own banker. I want to be able to finance everything through my policy. I want to have control over my money, and that was one of the main things, having control over your money. Nobody controls the money except you. You are the owner of the policy, and you control everything there. So for anybody that is hearing me and they're like, I don't need a death benefit, neither do I. I mean, I didn't need it. Now that I'm married and about to have kids, I can tell them that this is a huge blessing now to also have a death benefit. And it will be a blessing to you as well, believe me. But, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't care about the death benefit, this is an amazing tool for you.
Now, I know that there are a number of people who have heard the concept, especially as real estate investors. We think about becoming your own banker or being the bank in a completely different way than what you mean at this particular moment. So when you say you get to be your own bank, what does that really mean?
Well, let me tell you something first. I want to explain everybody that how bank works, if you don't mind.
Oh, by all means, this is going to be, it's either going to be good or some people are going to be really mad when they understand what you're about to say. But that's okay. Let's go for it.
Because we want to mimic what they are doing in a small scale, of course. So we need to understand how they operate. And so think about this for a second. You put your money inside a bank account, okay? It can be, I don't know, a CD, a money market, whatever it is. They will pay you from nothing or 0.05% to maybe 1% or so. And they will charge you maybe 20% to use it, right? So think about that. Let's say that you deposit $10,000 and you put it in a CD. and they are going to tell you, okay, we can pay you a 1%. And, some banks, they don't even offer that. But let's say that they are paying you 1%. Now, they will lend that money to somebody that is buying, let's say, a car at a 7% rate, right? So they are paying you as a depositor 1%. They are lending that same money, your money, at a 7% rate. Now, you will think that the bank made a killing, right? Because they just made how much there? And everybody will say, well, it's a 6% easy return for the bank, right? But that is wrong. They made actually 600% on that transaction. And probably people are right now like scratching their head. How did that happen? Well, think about this. They on that $10,000, they had to pay 1%, which is how much? $100, right? So 1% of $10,000, they had to pay $100. But they made $700. So really, it's like they invested $100 and they got $700 out of it. So what is the rate of return? That is a $600 profit on $100 that they invested. I hope that you are following me, but that is a 600% rate of return.
And just now, so that we're clear, of that 600%, how much do I get?
You got 1%.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. That sounds totally fair. Now, the other thing to understand, everyone, is that has nothing to do with things like fractional reserve banking and the Fed's rate and the fact that they can just literally go get a whole lot more money anytime they kind of want to. So just keep this in mind, that this is over and above everything that you've been hearing in the news. Keep going.
Exactly. Now, like you were saying, I wish that would be all the profits that they are making, but it doesn't stop there with that $10,000, because the client will pay that money back, the car loan, and the bank will lend it to another person for maybe, let's say, a credit card. And, they charge maybe 20%, sometimes even more than 20% interest rate. So if they are paying 1% and they are making 20%, can you now calculate the rate of return there? That's almost 2,000%. Right. 2,000% that they are making. And that cycle repeats multiple times. They receive all the profits and they will give the depositor a $100 contribution at the end of the year. Now, when it's time to lend that money, are they going to use their own money or are they going to use somebody else's money?
Yeah. As I said, as you go through this, either we're going to be informed or mad or both. I'm going to take option number 2.
Exactly. The bank don't take risks. They will risk your money. They are not going to risk their own money. They keep their money safe with no risk. Now, the main question here is, where do the banks keep their money? And you are going to be surprised, maybe. I don't know. But they don't put the money in the stock market. I mean, right. They don't put it on another savings account. I mean, they don't follow their own advice. Right. They advise you to put your money on their savings, on the CDs, or even on the stock market, but they don't follow that. They put a large portion of their money in life insurance policies.
Yeah.
And that's why I want everybody to understand they are either dumb or they know what they are doing. One of those two things.
I'm going to go with banks got large buildings, so they know what they're doing.
Exactly. They buy life insurance policies by the truckload. They have about $140 billion worth of permanent life insurance. And of course, Bank of America and Wells Fargo are the biggest banks, and they have about $20 billion each on life insurance policies. So they must know something that we do not know, and they may be using it in a way that we probably don't even know. And that's what I want to teach them. And now I can answer your question, I guess, about how they can use this as their own bank, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, well, and man, I just want to give you a little data very quick so I can tell them how
Sure.
they can their own bank, their policy as their own bank. I read a statistic that's online that says that about 40% of our income goes to pay taxes. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think
probably higher if you're not a real estate investor, but yes, go for it.
That's, property taxes, sales taxes, income taxes. But about 22% of our money goes to pay interest to somebody else. 22%.
Wow.
Now, the normal, I guess, average American is saving about 3% of their money, maybe 3 to 5%. And they are so concerned about the 5% or the 3% that they are saving. And they are so concerned. They're trying to do a budget. They are trying to save more money. Nothing wrong with creating a budget. That's great. But they are trying to, instead of saving 3%, they want to save maybe 6%. And they are trying their best. And that's fine. Or they are also talking about maybe creating more wealth by putting their money in the stock market, maybe, making 10% instead of the 5% that they are getting. Of course, that involves more risk and maybe they will lose their money. But they are always so concerned about that little number, the 3%, and they don't pay attention to the 22% that they are giving away to somebody else. So what we are teaching our clients is how they can become their own banker by starting this policy. So this is how it works. You start your policy. Every time you have a cash value inside the policy, now you can use that as your own bank, pretty much. So, for example, some of my clients may have $100,000 in the cash value, or even if they have $20,000, doesn't matter. But next time that they need to buy a car, instead of going to the bank, like I was explaining, and paying a 7%, 10, or whatever it is, percent to the bank, now you come to your policy, get a loan from your policy, and pay yourself back. Now that 7% that the bank was making out of you, you are making that 7% inside the policy. And this is how it works. And it depends which life insurance you're working with. At least the ones that I'm working with, they work like this. Whenever you take a loan from your policy, let's say that you have $20,000 cash value. You take $10,000 loan, even though that you are taking $10,000 out, they keep paying the same interest and the same dividends like if you wouldn't have touched a penny. So a lot of people are they love the compound interest, and many people say that is the eighth wonder of the world, the compound interest. But there is one basic concept about how money works that a lot of people ignore, and that is uninterrupted compound interest. Notice the word uninterrupted.
Right.
That is the part that everyone misses. So when we have this policy, we have uninterrupted compound interest, because even though that we may be using the policy to finance things, the compound interest never stops inside the policy. And that is how you can start using your policy as your own bank. And even if you are doing this for business purposes, you can even deduct the interest that you are paying back to yourself. I mean, this is an amazing tool. There are so many benefits that we can talk about, but that's pretty much how they can use their policy as their own bank.
Got it. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, okay, I do real estate. How does this apply? Well, let me just give you some insights that you might want to consider. For example, when you're doing a rehab, you don't spend all of the money all of the time over and over again. If you do multiple rehabs, there's probably a certain amount that you have sitting in reserve at any given particular moment. That's just one of many ways of thinking about alternative uses for the idle cash that you have on the side that's not doing a whole lot at this moment and waiting for you to come and use it. One of the interesting things that I like about this whole concept is the fact that you can begin to, because every one of your expenses is someone else's income. And when he was talking about the interest expense, instead of paying it to the bank, you're going to pay it to yourself or to the policy in this particular case, which then is kind of cool. You were going to have a car payment anyway. You might as well, since you're okay with that, you might as well pay it to yourself as opposed to paying it to the bank. Now, there's also something that you said that I found was interesting, and I want to really underscore this. This is not a do it. This is like, don't try this at home type of thing. You know, this is not something you execute on your own, because he hinted at it, but he didn't go that deep into the fact that not all insurance companies or plans are created equal to actually give this benefit. If you want, I would love for you to expound upon that just a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are right on that. I mean, you cannot just go with your normal insurance agent and say, hey, I want a 770 account. First of all, he's going to look at you weird, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And second of all, he will probably sell you a life insurance policy that will not work very well. So there are a couple of things that you should be looking for. The first thing is that you should be looking for a mutual life insurance company. Mutual just means that when you buy one of these life insurance policies or participant whole life insurance policies, you are kind of like a shareholder of the company. So that means that if they have a profit, it doesn't go to the CEO. It goes to the policyholders. They have to divide the profits upon policyholders. That's what we're looking for. Otherwise, it's going to take forever for you to break even, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to take forever to break even. So that's the first thing, a mutual insurance company. The second thing is that you should be looking for a company that has a good reputation. I just do business with companies that are rated A plus or more. If they are rated B or C, I don't trust my money. I mean, we're putting a very large amounts of money. So let's go with companies that are rated at least A or A plus. That's the second thing. And the third thing that I will be looking for, and this is not always the case, but most of the time, I want to go with a non-direct recognition company. Non-direct recognition company. What that means is that you can use it, like I was explaining, your policy as your own bank. That means that when you are taking some money out of the policy to finance whatever you want to finance, they keep paying the same dividends. If that company is not a non-direct recognition, they won't pay you dividend on that money that you just took out. So it can be very important. Sometimes it's not that important, but it can be very important. And I guess the last thing is that if you go with somebody, just try to find somebody that has the knowledge, the experience setting these type of accounts. Ask them how many years they have been doing these type of accounts. Maybe they can show you some contracts that they have done before. And this is something that you can look for. If they present you a policy and it's taking, let's say, 10 or more years for you to break even, there's something wrong with that policy. It normally takes me, with my average client, maybe 5 years, sometimes even less than 5 years. It depends. Sometimes it takes me 8 years at the most to break even. So if it's taking you more than 10 years to break even, there's something wrong with that policy. And something that I would love to tell everybody is that, I would love to help you out personally, but if you don't feel like it, that's fine. You can go with somebody else and you can send me the illustrations, and I have no problem just checking that illustration for you, just making sure that you are getting the best policy that you can get. And lastly, I will go with a broker, just because I don't want when an insurance agent is working for just one company, because guess what? He can just sell that company's policies. No. So even though that could be a great company, one company is not always the best for everybody. So a broker will work best if he works with 5, 10, 15 companies, because he's going to look for the best company. I mean, it takes me sometimes hours to put the right policy for a client, looking at all these companies and structuring the policy, because it's also very important that they know how to structure the policy, because we want this to be a tax-free. And sometimes when they don't know how to structure the policy, sometimes it can become a mech. We can talk more about it, but it pretty much means that it's not going to be tax-free anymore, and there can be even penalties if you use the money.
Got it. Now, a couple of things that one thing I definitely want to make sure that everybody understands, because you probably have, if you just heard that, you're like, wow, this sounds complicated and like a lot of work. And it can be, and that's why we work with professionals who understand that. And that's one of the major things that I want to underscore. Now, he's offered something to you that you may not completely understand the value of, when he was saying that he would look at the illustrations. Those illustrations are the offers for insurance that you're receiving from other individuals. And he's saying, hey, look, whether you go with me or not, that's not important. What's important is that you get the right thing done. And to make sure that you're getting that, you need to send to him, he's making himself available, his team available to actually make sure that that's exactly what you are receiving, that you are getting what you think you're supposed to be getting and not the other way around. But the one thing that I really want to make sure that people heard and get, because this you can look up on your own, and this is probably definitely a take-home exercise, if you will, that I would strongly recommend everybody try. You heard him mention about insurance companies being rated. You're like, what is that? What is A and B and the A plus and the triple A's and what rating are you talking about? I would love for you to help us understand that just a little bit better, and possibly some of the resources that you use to look up a company's rating, so that somebody could even practice tonight and look up their own company's rating to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, they can. It's very easy. You can just Google it, and you can find it very easily online. What is the rate of any particular company? So, but how life insurance operate under legal reserves. Legal reserves means that the life insurance companies have to legally maintain so much money in reserves accounts to cover all their liabilities at any given moment. This means that companies have to have the money on hand to pay claims and to keep their promises to their clients, and these reserves are heavily monitored. So when the rating comes, they are monitoring how much reserves they have, comparing that with the liabilities. So like for example, all the life insurance companies that I recommend have big legal reserves. For example, one has $1 with 25 cents in reserves for every dollar they owe. Another has almost 50 cents more for every dollar they owe. So that means that even if the country went into a financial depression, and even if the company had a huge number of debt claims, the insurance company will have an additional 25 to 50 cents in reserves for every dollar they have committed to pay out to others. So that's one of the things that they monitor, but that's one of the main things.
Got it. Excellent. So at this point, I'm going to say that their brain is full. They're like, wow, this sounds heavy. So here's what I would love. There's probably, a number of you who are like, I would love to explore this for my situation. I can see how I might be able to use something like this. If they want to get more information about what their next steps are, how do we find out more about what you have going on?
Well, they can do a couple of things. They can go to my website. You will probably have the link there, but it's www.arceo, that is ARCEO financial.com, and you can just contact us there. We have some information there. You can contact me directly. My phone number is 615-584-0462. Or you can just send me an email. Sometimes that's the best way to reach me, because I have so many appointments through the day, praise God. And my email is going to be there, the link, but I'm going to mention it really quick. It's Edgar, Edgar, at arceofinancial.com. And so if you have any questions, if you want to see if a policy is right for you or not, just send me the illustration. It's not going to take me too long to make sure that you are receiving the best. If it is the best, I will tell you, yes, go for it. Or if not, I will just let you know.
Excellent. Now, I got to ask one of our final questions here. There's probably a person or two right now who might be in a situation similar to how you started or what have you. They got an idea. They think, maybe my mission, maybe I can make a difference. Maybe I can help people too, kind of like Edgar does. But they're concerned. Will it work? Can I make it? Should I even start trying? So my question to you, Edgar, is if you're talking to that person who's considering putting on their superhero outfit for the first time in their life, they're like, I want a cape too. I want to be special like that. What would you say to them?
Oh, well, I will say go for it always, all the time. And this is why. There are many things, but one is that if you don't do it, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. If it doesn't work, it's not big deal. I mean, you can go back and do whatever you're doing right now. There's no big deal. But if you don't do it, you're going to always ask yourself, what if? And that's the worst feeling ever that you can have. That's the first thing. The second thing, I mean, I'm a Christian person. I always pray. I always ask God about this. But that's what I will do first. Pray and wait until God puts that peace in your heart to go for it. Maybe this is not for you. Maybe God is telling you, hey, maybe you are thinking about this is going to be your ministry, but God is telling you that this other thing will be your ministry or whatever it is. So I will tell you to pray about it and wait for that peace of God that you will feel it in your heart, and ask people always. I mean, you have maybe people that loves you. Ask them what they think. I mean, many people will say no, and then I got that too. But there are people that are really love you no matter what, and that they trust you. So go with those people that are always supporting you and see what they say. But it's always a good idea to go for it, even if it doesn't work. But lastly, whenever you start, don't quit. I mean, it's very easy to quit after a couple of months when you see nothing going on, and that's normal. You are not going to see anything. I thought I was going to have all these clients for my first 6 months. I already calculate how much I was going to be able to have and all that kind of things, and I got nothing for like 6 months or so, like not even one client, and it was hard to keep going, and but because I have the support of my wife, I just kept going, and because God kept telling me, I am with you, I am going to make you successful because you are with me, I just kept going. And the result was that I now have so many appointments that sometimes I have to say, I cannot do it right now. I have to maybe do it for next week. I mean, I am very busy, praise God. And so just keep doing. And lastly, all is about helping people. All is about finding a way to help people. And if your motivation is to make money, it's probably not going to work out. But if your motivation is to help people because you saw a need and you want to just help those people that have that need, you're going to be successful no matter what.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to invest here at the Cashflow Diary audience, and thank you for all that you are doing to help individuals understand what their options are so that they can reach their financial goals.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure being with you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. Yes, we're going to have links to everything inside the show notes. Just go over to the website. But most importantly, right now, what you must do is, hey, try that exercise. Go look up the insurance rating of your company and see where that begins to lead you. Give Edgar a call, send him an email, find out, how can I use this 770, this strategy to my best benefit? Because I'm telling you, there's probably things there that you just haven't considered to make it happen. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.